With them banging. That's no good.
No, the freaking Shrek song going on in the
Dude,
background.
that is what I think of every time. Is it's the song from Shrek.
Shrek, yeah, it's all.
The fourth.
It is
the
such
fifth,
a weird, yeah. It's such a weird scene to me. I'm just like, this is way overdone.
I think it's like a big deal in the comic. It's like because he's
graphic
like
novel. It's not coming.
oh whatever. He's like impotent or whatever, and so it's like he finally gets his mojo
saying
back.
like the guy who made the graphic novel was like, this should never be turned into a movie because it is so ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh my god, we started. All right. Welcome to Now This Is Podcasting. I'm your host Connor, and I got my co-host Jaden here.
What up?
And we're gonna go over an oldie but a goodie. It's crazy to think it's been 20 years since this movie came out.
And what, 25 years since they started filming?
It's just insane. But we're gonna talk about this is part one of a 3-part installment. We're gonna talk about Fellowship of the Ring tonight.
Peter Jackson's reenactment.
His reenactment. It's basically it's damn near a documentary
on the books.
Yeah,
I think they missed some things, but
yeah. So obviously, I think everyone knows this movie, and we just want to give our thoughts on it. Maybe stuff we saw you didn't. Maybe a couple fun facts along the way. I love fun facts about this movie, and I think there's like the big ones that everyone knows about. But I
broke his toe. We all know that.
But I think we're gonna sprinkle in some new ones for you. And yeah, I'm like really excited to get this going. I was really stoked to rewatch this, and I actually watched it twice this week because I watched it, and then when I put in the second disc, this is the extended version, by the way. So if you feel like you're missing some scenes, go out to your local.
They're on HBO Max.
Yeah, go out to your Best Buy, go out to your thrift store, Target, whatever. Get the extended version,
or just watch them on HBO Max. Yeah, because they are on there.
So I put in the second disc, and it was like continue with commentary, and I was like, what? And I realized I had never watched the movies with the commentary on, and so I watched all of Fellowship of the Ring, and then I rewatched it again with the commentary, with Peter Jackson, who, you know, director. He has a writing credit. He's a producer, and then Philippa Boyens, she is a writer on the show. And then Fran Walsh is a writer and a producer on the show. I think a lot of people will be surprised to find out that, like, you know, like, let's get some girl power in there. Like, 2 women help, like, write this movie, and it's
I had no idea.
One of the greatest movies of all time. Like,
also, one of the women's name is Philip. That is odd.
Philippa.
All right, that makes more sense. Yeah, yes. The A is feminine.
But yeah, like, I think that's excellent. I had no idea, and they had like great insights while I was watching the commentary. So yeah, so I watched this movie 2 times in like 2 days, and it was great both times. I
watched like half of it this week, so you should have a little more insight.
It's so good. It was really excellent to watch. So I want to start off like obviously with the prologue. So like apparently the movie was originally they had filmed a lot at the prologue, and then New Line Cinema was like, we kind of don't want that. Like, don't do a prologue. And a lot of the exposition that was going to take place to explain like the ring and like the whole War of the Ring that took place in like that early age with the elves and men where they fought Sauron was supposed to be dialogue between Gandalf and Frodo after Frodo gets the ring from Bilbo. So that was like, it kind of got scrapped for a little bit.
I think that would have been better.
I disagree because the prologue is excellent.
The prologue kind of stinks.
So then they like show like some preview stuff to executives at New Line Cinema, and they're like, okay, you need to have a prologue in this movie. And they had already filmed a lot of it, so just some like a couple more scenes they had to do, some more VFX shots, and then they had the prologue ready. And another thing that's crazy is, the actress who plays Galadriel does a voiceover for the prologue.
Yeah, what is her name?
I don't know, but she's
in Thor Ragnarok.
She's in Thor Ragnarok.
She's...
We don't have our producer today to look that up for us immediately. But anyways, there is recordings of Gandalf doing the prologue, and there's also recordings of Frodo doing the prologue.
Oh, I'm happy it was not Frodo.
Which they ultimately decided didn't make any sense, because why would he know any of that?
Yeah.
Which I agree with.
Kate Blanchett.
Kate Blanchett, that's the one.
Yeah. Great actress.
Absolute beauty in Thor Ragnarok.
First couple of scenes when she has the makeup on. Other than that, she's not that hot. But
I meant like beauty, like she did great.
She does an okay job, yeah.
I love her in Thor Ragnarok. What are you talking about? She's great.
She's
okay. All right. But yeah. So then New Line Cinema is like, you need to have a prologue in this, and so they add it back in, and they have Cate Blanchett do the voiceover, and it's awesome. Like, I like that. It's a good way for, I think, a filmmaker to, like, it immediately puts you in the world that they're trying to build for you. It's like, you don't have to get to know any characters. You don't have to get, like, a grasp really on, like, maybe not like every character. You just understand, like, there's very high stakes right now, and it just immediately puts you in. And I think the prologue is such a good part of this movie. And I don't love it in every movie, but I think this movie executes it almost perfectly.
I think they needed it for sure.
There are so many confusing concepts in this movie. Like, if you... So I grew up, like, reading the books. So, like,
yeah, J.R. Tolkien just made the mass universe of this movie, and it's incredibly complex.
And it, like, if you try to explain this to someone, like, okay, so there's, like, rings, and the rings, like, have power, but they have power over the people. And there's another ring that, like, is better than the other rings. Like, that's confusing as shit.
Yeah, they make it a little bit more vague.
It makes it so digestible. Yeah. Like, it's the prologue sets it up so well. Yeah. And I just gotta say, like, one scene, you know, when they're at the battle in Mordor, and there's the elves and men are fighting, and Elrond's, like, commanding, like, them to shoot arrows and everything, and then the orcs get real close. And you know the scene where, like, all the elves are, like, flipping their blades up? And,
awesome. Like, awesome scene.
I always think of the Fellowship of the Ring PS2 game.
Great game.
Because that's right when it transitions from, like, the actual scenes from the movie into the video game. And I think awesome. That every time, it's so good.
All Lord of the Rings games slap. Every single one is
so good.
Yeah, every single one. Even War of the North or whatever, which is, like, some other characters, and it just, if you have a chance to play Lord of the Rings video games, just do it.
Oh, like
they're awesome.
Battle for Middle Earth is a real-time strategy game.
It's so fantastic.
It's so good.
I mean, Age of Empires is like, it's right on par with that.
Yeah, for sure. They have the expansion Witch King of Angmar. Mm-hmm. So good, so good.
Very, very good game.
If you ever want to command a Mumakil to just absolutely demolish Warriors of Gondor,
why don't you go ahead and explain what Mumakil is, please?
Mumakil is the big elephant that you see in
Elefante is what they say.
Elephant, you're right.
Yeah.
They first appear in Two Towers, but they wreck house in Return of the King.
Yes. Wreck house, by the way. Legolas wrecks one of them.
He does.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're on Fellowship of the Ring, dude.
Yeah.
It's tough to talk about these movies not as a series. So I've said this 100 times. Like, put me on a desert island. Give me the option between the Lord of the Rings trilogy or the entire Skywalker saga.
I'm choosing Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, including the new movies, like, which I'm not even a terribly big fan of. But
I hate them, but yeah.
But, like, I will watch Lord of the Rings anytime.
Yes.
I will always watch it.
This excludes the Hobbit trilogy, by the way.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Not even including,
because the Hobbit trilogy kind of stinks.
It's got problems.
I mean, they would just use makeup instead of CGI. I'm way more happy. But yeah. I mean,
it's crazy to me that this. Like, the prologue, I think, sets it up so well.
I think they do, as far as, like, I'm not a huge fan of prologues in any movie. To be honest, things are kind of, like, dry and boring for the most part.
It's usually this
does set up the movie so well.
It's usually a lot of exposition, and, like, you're like, oh my god, they're just talking at me.
Yeah.
This movie does it so well, because she is talking at you, but like, shows. You see so much.
Yeah. And that's a major thing, which is, like, was brought up by our producer often. Show, don't tell in films.
Yeah.
Show us what's going on. If you can show and tell, that's fine.
You're going to hear that a lot in this podcast. Like, show, don't tell, man.
Yeah,
like,
I think it's a major concept of what makes a film great.
And I think it does such a good job of letting you know, like, Sauron is a really bad guy. Like, yeah, he dies, like, really close, but he absolutely demolishes people before. Like, you really get the sense that he is unstoppable.
Yeah.
Like, he will single-handedly destroy you.
On just a whim of luck is he defeated.
Yeah.
Which I think is awesome as well.
Which they so I grew up with the book, so, like, we'd all, like, gather up as a family, and, like, my mom would read them to us, or like, we'd be on road trips and we'd have them, like, as an audio book, and so I grew up listening to these. Like,
your mom read me
these.
The Hobbit.
Yeah.
And that's
And so, like, it was really just amazing to see all this stuff, like, live on screen, you know? And I feel like that is true for a lot of people because, like, all of Tolkien's work has been popular for a long time, and it just is amazing to see it. And I think the execution of Sauron is excellent.
He looks amazing, too.
Because it's strange because he's the big bad. You see him one time in the prologue.
He looks fantastic. I cannot get over how well they did such a good job, dude.
I mean, you see his physical person one time in a prologue, and you understand immediately, like, this guy is no good. And I think it's kind of crazy that there was almost not going to be a prologue in this movie.
Yeah.
So I guess the plan was to have Frodo and Gandalf talk about it, and they were going to have flashbacks, which would be those scenes from...
Yeah.
Which I think would have been interesting.
It would have been okay. I do not think, because I was on board with with them doing that. I think it would have been great. But as far as, like, because they executed Prologue so well, I do think they made the right decision to not do it in a flashback conversation.
Yeah. I think the thing I like the most is, like, there's this good change of pace from, like, big battle, really intense scene, and then you immediately cut to, like, Bilbo in the Shire. And it lets you know, like, you go from this, like, it shows you how bad it was to, like, how good it is now.
Yeah. It's been...
And that's why I like that they did the prologue first and didn't cut it in between.
It shows you that it's been dormant.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah. I think it's excellent.
I believe that as well.
Yeah. I can't get over how much I really like the prologue and just the PS2 scene. Like, I just think about that every time. It just is my favorite thing. I think about it every time I watch it.
All right, so moving on to first scene, Gandalf shows up, right?
So in the extended cut, it starts with Bilbo, and he's like about to start writing the Hobbit. He's about to start talking about his adventures and stuff. And he goes kind of, I think, like, too long about how, like, peaceful the Shire is and how, like, they love gardening and they love ale and they love peace and quiet,
being people.
I think that opening goes a little too long, and so I'm kind of glad they cut that out.
Yeah.
Of, like, the theatrical cut.
Yeah.
But it's, like, fun if you have time and you want to spend 4 hours watching Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Which I do. I love watching 4 hours of Lord of the Rings.
Big fan of the movies.
But that's a scene I totally get why they cut that out.
Yeah.
And so then you get to Frodo, you know, and he meets up with Gandalf, and dude, they have just the greatest scene when they're on his cart. And I think
Wizard is never late.
Yeah.
Arrives precisely when he means to.
And I feel like this is probably a thing that a lot of people know, but, like, that's a practical scene. There's no CGI done there to make Frodo look small. They're in a cart that's, like, specially built that has Elijah Wood sitting, like, 6 feet back from Ian McKellen to make Frodo look really small, and they just had the camera positioned just so that way it looks like they're next to each other, but Frodo looks small. It's so good.
It's good. They do a lot of camera tricks and
almost
great makeup in this movie. It's not movies today are not made the way that these films were. That's why I think I hold them in such high regards.
For sure,
because it's not all based on, like, CGI. This is not all done behind a green screen. This is
like, so we talked about Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I just, every time the shield shows up and it's CGI, I'm like, why didn't they just put a real shield in? It's like, why is it CGI? There's sometimes when it just falls to the ground and it's a CGI shield. Yes. And I'm like, why? Why are we doing this?
Hey, Spidey suit, buddy.
Yeah. Why is Spider-Man all CGI? Like, there's just so much stuff. It is without a doubt better to just have practical effects, and I think that.
And I understand why, like, Marvel can't do that stuff. I get it. They have.
I mean, you can't tell me it's because of a time crunch. All 3 movies were filmed in, like, a year for Lord of the Rings, so they were on a time crunch. I'm just saying.
It took like 10 years to make these movies.
No, they were all filmed in 1 year.
Right. Well, that's fine, but I understand why Marvel does it as well. I mean, you can't make a space alien.
I'm just saying the reason I think that everyone loves these movies is because they feel real all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because there's, like, 0 shortcuts taken in these movies.
Yeah. Well,
and one of them is, like, this, like, forced perspective shots they do where they have the actors in the shot and they just do a little trick of the camera to make it look like one of them smaller.
Yeah.
And it's like it's so imperceivable that you don't even think, like, why is Elijah Wood so small? Like, why is Gandalf
It just
so big?
seems natural.
You're just like, oh yeah, he's a hobbit.
Yeah.
Like, you just watch it.
Very
It's
natural
so good.
feeling, yeah. All right. So going on in the movie, we're in the Shire, and we are going into the celebration of Bilbo's life, of his birthday.
His 111th birthday.
Big deal. 111th. The way they enunciate it.
There's one actor in that so I listened to the commentary and I think I heard it right. They said there's one actor in the entirety of the trilogy that didn't wear a wig, and it's one little kid in Bilbo's
the curly
birthday.
Hair.
And they were like, he just has perfect hobbit hair.
Yeah.
And so they didn't put a wig on him.
Also known, if I was that, I could have been that kid.
I think it's Billy Jackson, I believe is his name.
Is his name? His name is Billy Jackson?
Yeah, he's he's just like a little New Zealand kid.
His name is William Jackson.
Okay.
Yeah, this sounds not like a.
Either way,
yeah,
it astounds me that no one had hobbit hair except for him, like in the whole movie.
You're telling me, I cannot remember his name. Sean Astin is wearing a wig.
They're all wearing wigs, dude.
It looks like his hair.
It's because all the makeup artists
they're just that good.
They did a great job. Yeah. Like, it's just so good. So yeah, that was my little fun fact about his 111th birthday.
Also great scene. Just the fact that you get to connect with them more, basing on the Hobbit's feelings more of a human level than what you would expect. We're coming into a fantasy fictional movie. You're not gonna be able to connect with fictional characters that much, but they really humanize them in that scene.
I read this really good tweet. It was like talking about why there's such like great food, and everyone's always eating so much delicious stuff in Lord of the Rings, and they have these celebrations and stuff, and they were like, it's because J.R.R. Tolkien fantasized about having good food because all he had to eat was British food.
Which
so
I assume sucks.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Oh, another fun fact about the birthday. So they really lit 111 candles on his birthday cake. It's obviously not like a real cake. It's like a prop cake. You know, It's like made of like, I don't know, some kind of plastic. And apparently the whole thing kind of caught on fire. But while Bilbo's giving a speech, he just kept going. And they were like, this thing is like really lighting up. But he just ignored it and kept going. So like the whole cake like really caught up. And he was just like, all right, no, I'm good.
Scene keeps going, dude. Don't stop the scene for that shit.
No, he's great.
Introduce you to Merry and Pippin and their antics.
Which is just, I had a note about that. Just the greatest way to introduce them.
I believe so as well. It really lets you know they're like the little troublemakers.
Yeah.
Little party heathens. Very much the characters that I related to the most in this movie. Instantly, even being a child, did not know that I was a deviant yet. But very much related to them.
No, I think it's the... apparently they were going to be introduced later, like with Sam. The idea was that Sam, Merry, and Pippin were all listening in on the door when Gandalf is talking to Frodo about the ring, and he opens the door and they all fall in, which is kind of really reminiscent of what they did in The Hobbit, where all the dwarves are like at the door and they open the door and they all come in. So I'm glad they didn't do that. I think them having some antics right off the bat, so good. Like
then meeting them later when they're also performing more antics.
It just so establishes them, and then when they finally become like their own kind of characters and they're heroes, because like Merry and Pippin split is like really
massive. People don't talk about it, and it's like those two characters are so, I think, very important to me as far as the story goes.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people see them as kind of like side unnecessary characters, and I don't agree with that at all.
I want a movie that is just Gandalf Pippin team up.
Oh yes,
I think
just him calling them stupid shit.
They're so great at it. Peter Jackson actually has the set of Hobbiton. Bag End, which is Bilbo's house.
Yeah.
So they were like gonna just demolish it because you have to like clear out your set once you build it. You can't just leave stuff there. So he asked New Line Cinema. He was like, if I can come with storage, like, can I have it? And they're like, yeah.
That's awesome.
And so his plan is to like on his property.
So I would live in that house.
Yeah, I don't know if he's done it yet, but because when I heard the commentary, this is from 2000 when it came out. He still has it. I don't know if he's built it up yet, but his plan is to like have his own, Bag End in his on his property, which is amazing.
Awesome. Yeah,
it's just so cool. And just another thing about Baggin, like everything in that house is built twice, like at a 1-for-1 scale, like not 1-for-1, but like a scale for like the hobbits to be in it and Gandalf to be in it.
Yes.
So like even like candlesticks, they're built so like when Gandalf's in the scene, they're very small.
Small, but when Bilbo's in there, they're large.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's amazing. Like it just the amount of time that went into making this movie feel real is astounding to me. We are supposed to. We're already 20 minutes in, and we're just waxing poetic about just how amazing the set is. Like, it's so good. Everything about this movie is amazing.
Right off the bat, too, the cast is amazing. Ian McKellen as Gandalf is. I don't think that you could have cast that better. I do not believe so. I don't think you could pick a better person to play Gandalf.
I mean, like, speaking of casting, like, Aragorn, like, Viggo Mortensen was cast, like, right before they started filming. They had a different actor lined up for it. And then they...
This was, like, a bigger name guy, too, wasn't it?
I'd have to look it up. No, he was kind of smaller. But they recast him because they're like, they did a couple scenes with him. They're like, you're way too young.
Yeah.
And so they, like, we need to get an older actor. And that's when Viggo Mortensen got it. So he came on, like, really late in the filming. All right, the actor originally cast as Aragorn was Stuart Townsend. You may know him from Queen of the Damned and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I have no idea who he played in either of those.
No, I've only seen League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and no clue.
I know because I looked it up.
What does this dude look like?
Let's see. He looks like a Irish dude.
Yeah, no clue.
But he does. I mean, he looks too young to be Aragorn. Yeah, so I'm glad he's recast. I mean,
obviously,
poor guy didn't get to be Aragorn in the greatest movie ever made. So that's got to be pretty heartbreaking. But I think it worked out really well. And so you go past the birthday, you get the ring to Frodo, and then they have that whole scene that got cut out. Luckily, that wasn't the prologue, where Frodo and Frodo and Gandalf were talking about it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that got changed. Interesting thing, in the book, it's like 17 years between Frodo getting the ring from Bilbo. Gandalf leaves to go like research the ring and stuff, and then that's when he comes back. But kind of in the movie, it kind of feels like maybe it's a couple months.
I would say days. That's the way I felt.
It feels fast. Yeah,
very fast.
Because
one thing you gotta understand about this movie is that it is these
can't.
3 films take. I mean, it's a year of Frodo traveling to Mordor, isn't it?
Yeah, and you can't like indulge these like 17-year thing. And then even when Gandalf gives the ring to Frodo and tells him like, "Hey, you really need to go. Like, it needs to be out of the Shire. You have to travel with this." Frodo takes a year in the book to get ready to go.
That's wild. Yeah.
And in the movie, it's obviously like immediately.
Yeah, we gotta get the heck out of here.
Which I think is a great adaptation of the book. I think that's
it's like, I mean, obviously, if you're watching it, it's like, hey, you got a year to get out of here. Like, why is so long? Like, why wouldn't they just be here?
It adds a lot more like tension to like what's going on. It makes everything about the ring seem like a much more serious threat. Because if it's like if Frodo's just like, oh, I'll take a year to get out of here, no big deal, then I'm like, I don't take the ring very seriously.
Yeah.
So I like that it's like sped up in the movie. Like you have to do that.
Yeah.
One of my favorite scenes happens shortly after that. It's when they get into the cornfield, Farmer Maggot's field.
Very, very big fan of that scene.
And they run into Merry and Pippin again, and they're back up to their antics, and they fall off that cliff, which apparently a stuntman like dislocated his shoulder during that. He's like one of the only injuries like during the filming of the first movie, and it was like just like a very small fall. They were like really sad that it happened. They're like, this is a nonsense. You shouldn't have gotten hurt.
Yeah.
It like sucked. But when they land on the ground and he's like, oh, that was close. Pippin like almost lands in like poop or something. And then he's like, oh, I see mushrooms. And like Sam gets up and pushes Pippin down. Yeah. And then you see Sam like running towards the camera. And if you look back, as Pippin and Merry try to get up, Merry gets up and shoves Pippin back down again. And it's just one of my favorite scenes. Like, he's just getting picked on. Like, poor Pippin. He just wants mushrooms, and everyone's like, get out of here. These are mine. And I think it really just plays more to like these hobbits just like really love food. You know? Like, it's great. Yeah. It's one of my. It's just a. I made a note of it because I was like, it's just a little scene, just a little thing that happens, and I was like, it's so good.
It's another thing that makes you more relatable to these characters.
Yeah.
It's a big thing.
You're
It's
just
like
a little guy,
everyone's
you're
been the
just
Pippin.
yeah.
Everyone's been, the Mary, like pushing your friend down, like, no, that's mine. Everyone's been those situations. I mean, maybe not running from race, but
It's just, yeah, I love that scene.
yeah, it is very good.
So in the commentary they talk about, when the ring wraith comes, because they're on that road, and Frodo's like, get off the road.
Yeah, quick.
And the wraith comes over them, and all the bugs come out and everything.
Yeah.
I guess they were trying to figure out what bugs to put in, and so they had like a centipede and like a weta and stuff. And the centipede just like mauled and killed the weta like to death. Like apparently it was pretty brutal, and so they're like, okay, we won't put those bugs in the same scene together because they'll just fight.
Yeah, they'll kill each other.
But yeah, like I would have had no idea. Like it's just a fun little fact. They were like, we had to cast insects to figure out like which ones they could get to squirm away.
And that is just how deep they go into these movies.
I guess the weta was no good, which is kind of surprising because like so a weta is like a giant cricket, and it's like native to New Zealand, and that's what Peter Jackson named the VFX studio that did all the work on Lord of the Rings. It's called Weta.
Yeah, because that was filmed generally in New Zealand.
I think the entirety of it is filmed in even the studios. I think they did some studios in London.
Yeah.
For like pickup shots, like after like principal photography was done, but the majority of it is like almost entirely filmed in New Zealand.
Yeah.
A big reason for that is there's like huge tax cuts in New Zealand to film. So that's why they
do they not there. They have like Hobbit, those houses the hobbits live in. Like
Hobbiton is like still there from what
like
I understand.
People live in those things, don't they?
No, it's like a tourist thing you go to. People don't live because I think they're. I don't. Well, no, they have to be filmed actual size, but it's still a thing. It's there, but people don't live there. I know, like
that'd be awesome.
That would be tight. You like have to like dress in like Hobbit clothes
all the time.
You like have to put on the prosthetic feet every morning.
I wouldn't even care. I'd be so happy.
Like you can live here, but you have to be dedicated to the role.
That's fine.
You know that episode of South Park where they go and they visit that like old mining town, and like the bank robbers show up, and they like won't give them the code to the door to get out because they're like, what's a code? Like we live in 19 like.
Oh, okay, yes.
And they won't tell them the code. It's like that. Like if you want to live in Hobbiton, you have to be like dedicated to the role. Yes. Like you have to do it. That would be amazing.
You don't know what phones are.
Yeah, what's a fancy phone?
South Park is amazing.
But like moving on further, one of the cool things I think is so they get to Bree later, because that's where Gandalf sent Frodo.
Big fence place.
Yeah, I love that the person checking the door opens up like a normal man-sized door.
He has a hobbit door.
And he like doesn't see anyone, closes it, and it goes to like the little door.
Yeah. I thought that was amazing.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And that's just another thing to me. It's like it so sets you up. Like you're in like a fantasy world. Yeah. Like you're in a different place.
And it's like small, subtle things like that make this movie awesome. I mean, we're gonna see it all over. It's gonna be great.
It's a tiny scene that I think about every time I watch the movie. I'm like, oh, he's gonna open up the little door because they're short. Like, because it's normal to have like dwarves and hobbits come in here. Like, it's so good.
Another one of my favorite parts about that is when they go to the bar. Like they have these in pints.
Yeah,
Holy shit! How much is like that's like your whole stomach full if you're a hobbit, dude.
Yeah. So there's that cameo with Peter Jackson when they're walking through Bree before they get to the Prancing Pony.
Yeah.
And you get the cameo of Peter Jackson, and he's like sitting there eating a carrot. So apparently he was supposed to be smoking a pipe, but he said that tobacco made him so sick he couldn't do it, and so they have him like eating a carrot instead.
Are you trying to tell me right now that Gandalf isn't smoking weed? This whole
dude,
I'm pretty sure.
So if you bring that up, so they thought Peter Jackson's like he's like I really want to have a scene where him and Bilbo are smoking.
Yeah. And
he was like, I really want to have a scene where he like does it like a smoke ship.
Yeah.
And he was like the studio's gonna come back at this so hard, like they're gonna say no, you can't have smoking in this.
Yeah.
And he was so nervous the scene had to get cut, and they didn't say anything about it.
That's awesome because that's a great scene.
And so he was like, oh, perfect, like it's great. So he was like apparently really nervous that was gonna get cut, but it made it into the theatrical cut. Like it's so good.
It was pretty good.
Another cool thing about like when they're in the bar, they have like people on stilts in like big people suits when they walk by the hobbits to make them look smaller. Just a cool thing. And dude, just Strider in the corner, man.
Strider, yeah, I forget that he gets
He
called
looks
that.
so good. I think one of
Do
the
you think
coolest.
they use like big ass cups then, for, like the pints?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had these massive glasses.
I guess that was kind of like an ad-lib thing. They just found the biggest glass they had and gave it to Pippin.
Yeah.
That way he had like a big glass
Yeah.
to be a pint. But one of my favorite scenes of that is just Strider smoking a pipe and the light from the pipe kind of lights up his eyes and his face, and it's just like
very good cinematography.
So you're like not sure, like, is he good, is he bad? Like, if you haven't read the books, like,
you
you
have
don't really
no
know.
idea.
You're like, is this friend or foe?
Yeah.
And
I mean, 7-year-old me watched this movie, you had no idea for sure. Yeah.
It's just like, who is this guy? Obviously good, you know.
Yeah, the best, probably.
The best dude.
He's awesome.
Another scene I love, because the wraiths track him there, because you know Frodo gets the ring on his finger. You know, when the
falls on there, it's kind of cheesy, but that's okay.
Well, it's kind of I think it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Because in the book, it's like Pippin's fault either way, but it like happens in a dumber way in the book. I don't remember, but I know it's like dumber. And so like accidentally falling, and I like it because it's like the ring wants it to fall on his finger, and I like the idea of like the ring is trying to be on his finger,
which is a concept that kind of gets as a viewer, you can kind of forget that sometimes the ring is almost its own entity. It's almost its own person.
Yeah, it's a character. And like so like if you look at that from like the lens of like is it practical? Would it actually happen? Like 1 in a million?
No, it never happened.
But like in the story, it's like the ring really, really wants to be worn to like signal the ring wraiths, you know. And so it like I think if you have that context in your head, it makes more sense.
Yeah.
And I think it's great. And so they show up to Bree, and you think like, oh my god, the hobbits are about to be killed. And it's one of the best combinations, I think, of like cinematography and score when the ring wraiths go into the prancing pony
and just starts murdering those pillows.
And like, well, it's like just when they enter in, and you know, like the barkeep is like hiding.
Yeah.
And like there's like fog coming in through the door, and they just come in. There's like blades out ready to go, and then they get to the beds. And and it's such a great job of like just filmmaking to like it makes the viewer believe like, oh my god, they're gonna be dead. Like, because you don't realize they're in different beds. Like, you're like, these guys are dead, and then they just go stabbing away, and and you're like, oh my god, like it's over. It's over for these guys.
Do you think they set up those beds to make it look like the Hobbits?
I want to believe that they did.
Yeah, I do too, because otherwise, why would it make sense?
Like it must have been like because the prancing pony is an inn, so they felt the ring at the inn when Frodo wore it, and then they went to a different place across the street or whatever.
Yeah.
So of course they'd go to the
I
inn.
just thought it was a different room, so.
No, because they're across the street. There's like a zoom out shot. You can see like Aragorn looking in at the room that the Nazgul are like stabbing up.
And then they bail. Like,
and that's when
you gotta get the heck out of here.
That's when he gives like the little babies, like they were once like great kings of men. Like, yeah. Just Aragorn could just talk forever. I could always listen.
He's awesome. And then they bail. You know, they get out of there. And then
that's when you get second breakfast line, which is just amazing.
Dumbass Pippin starts cooking bacon, and then Frodo gets stabbed.
That's when you get Weathertop. Yeah, shortly after that. Which again, it just shows like how I don't think the hobbits really realize what they're doing until like after Rivendell.
Yeah, I don't realize how serious.
Like, because they're like, oh yeah, we got tomatoes and nice crispy bacon.
Yeah,
it's like they have no.
What about second breakfast?
They're like gonna kill you.
Yeah, like Aragorn's like, you guys are fucking dumb kids.
It's just like it just shows like they don't really get it until later on, and I think it helps like kind of the viewer too, because like you don't really get it.
Frodo gets a little bit more.
For sure,
especially after he gets stabbed, obviously.
Which is cool. So like that's I don't know if people know that's the Witch King that stabs him.
Yeah, which I don't think a lot of people know.
Who's the leader of the Nine? You know.
No man can kill me.
Yeah, there you go, dude.
Yeah.
Dude. So I don't have very many problems with this movie. One of my big problems is like, you know, so they're on Weathertop, they're fighting.
Yeah.
And Aragorn throws the torch at the one Nazgul.
And sticks right in his face.
And he just starts waving his arms like, ah!
Did you catch it in your fucking mouth?
It's just like, it looks goofy as shit.
It does.
And big props to the stuntman who is on fire. It looks so fucking goofy.
It looks incredibly silly.
I do not love that part. It looks like it's gonna be cool, and then it ends, and I'm like, not very cool.
But I think that is also the first scene where the hobbits kind of start to realize as well, because they all step up and like, yo, we gotta back our boy Frodo here,
Yeah.
and not let him, be dead. I think he does get stabbed.
I think it's cool too because it also shows you like the Nazgul are like absolutely not to be fucked with.
No,
like,
they're not. Yeah, absolutely.
they throw them away like I mean they're hobbits, so they're already nothing, but they toss them like no big deal.
Hitler's guard people, the secret fucking the SS dudes, whatever. That's who they remind me of. Which
makes sense because I guess Tolkien was in the First World War, which was still against Germany, but before the Nazis.
But the books came out during World War II, didn't they? Because the Hobbit came out in 1937. I'd imagine the Lord of the Rings weren't too far after.
I don't know the particulars on that.
Yeah,
I'm not going to speak to it.
I know 1937 because of Falcon Winter Soldier. That's how I know that.
Dude. You just love that show too much.
It's all right. But yeah, no, very good.
I think Weathertop is a fine scene. Fun fact! Right before that, when they're in like the little kind of bog traveling, and Aragorn kills like a deer to bring to the hobbits. He's like, let's eat. That was like Viggo Mortensen's idea to be like to show that he's like a rugged traveler. Like he's a ranger. Like he lives this way. And so,
where the fuck does he get apples from?
They went to a butcher and got a whole deer. That's not fake. Like he like is carrying a deer and like they have it. Like that's like again just speaks to how like real this movie feels.
How deep they dove into making every single scene.
It's a real deer that he like, and it was. I think it's amazing that it's Viggo Mortensen's idea. He's like Strider. I think would have killed. He would have gone hunting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we should have this in the movie. And Peter Jackson's like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I just think it's great. It's just amazing. Like, I think you don't realize the impact like actors have on movies. Like they embody these characters and they take it really seriously, and like I think it's a cool craft to have. It's a cool ability to have and be like, hey, I think you do this, and to have a director who like believes in that character enough to be like, yeah, I think you would. I just think it's a really neat. It's a neat scene that maybe not a lot of people know about. It's a real deer. He carried a real deer, and he was like, yeah, we're gonna eat. I just think it's amazing.
So then, Frodo gets stabbed by the Witch King. Dodge becomes infected with dark magic. Or something.
Yeah, so he's going to turn into a Nazgul if he doesn't get healed, and that's when
Liv Tyler shows up.
Yeah.
Aragorn?
Oh my. Arwen,
yeah. I don't really give a shit about her character, for being honest.
I think she's great.
I do not think that she's that good.
I think that so in the book it's oh man, it's a different elf. It's not Gil-galad. I can't remember who it is. A different elf shows up for it. And they were just like, we just can't introduce more characters. There's too many.
I mean, especially with her being a major part of Aragorn's story, is a good place to put her in after Aragorn gets introduced.
It's funny that you don't really like her character because one of my favorite shots in the whole movie is the chase between.
Oh, I think the
when all the nine show up.
I think that scene is awesome.
Like there's one really wide shot from like it must be from a helicopter. It's so high above. And it's all the nine chasing this like white horse.
Yeah,
it's just
the
an
scene
amazing
is awesome.
shot.
You can see a Jeep in the background. Pay attention.
You can't, dude. That's all lie. There's like rumors that you can see a car in the background when Sam's like, "Oh, this is the farthest from home I've ever been." Yeah. I've watched that 1,000 times.
I've never seen it. I've never seen it either. Exist.
There's a rumor that there's a sticker on the apple that gets thrown at Pippin. There's no sticker. There's a lot of lies here. Dude, let's not spread false truths.
Do your due diligence.
Yeah. Don't spread false truths.
You can see the Jeep though.
There is no Jeep in the movie. Stop it.
I've never seen it. The Jeep. So
no,
I do agree with you. It's bullshit.
But I just love the way that chase is filmed. Awesome. It's like so.
I do still not understand why they cannot go into the water.
It's more of a book thing. They don't like it.
They just don't like it.
I mean, that's not gonna kill them, but they're just like, nah, my thing.
I'm wearing these drapey clothes.
But
get heavy.
One thing I want to say about the chase is, it starts out before they're even being chased. She's like riding across like just plains, just like grassland, and then it kind of gets a little more rugged, and there's like kind of small wooded areas, and that's kind of where the chase starts, and it gets more wooded.
Yeah.
And then they finally get to like this kind of like a ravine where the river's at.
Yeah.
And it's like very rocky, very wooded. It's kind of mountainous. And I think that is a great way just film wise with no like dialogue or anything to tell you like they've traveled a long way. Like you don't just go from like different ecosystems immediately.
No, absolutely not.
And I think it's a really cool kind of storytelling device to be like they were in plains, now that's kind of wooded, now they're like kind of deep woods and in like the mountains.
They've been chasing.
Yeah, it's like they've been moving, and so
Yeah.
I think it's a really good kind of storytelling device to be like this has been over a period of time.
Yeah.
Even though it happens very quickly in the movie.
Well, it's just like, so one thing after some of those movies is that it is a long, like, I know the movies are long and stuff like that, but things do seem to happen quickly, which they're not. It is taking place over a long extended period of time.
For sure, yeah. And I just love that scene. And
like, I mean, it doesn't take Frodo and Sam 4 hours to walk to Mordor. It takes forever.
It's like days and days. They're in Mordor for like a long time.
Yes.
Like, It's just but I really love like the transition of like ecosystems to be like let you know like hey they're really moving.
Yeah,
like,
they've been
going
getting
places.
after it. Yeah. And then she uses her elf magic or whatever to cause water horses.
So there's argument about that. She didn't like cast a spell.
She was saying stuff.
The river is already magical, and so she's kind of like trying to get it to do something. Not she's like coaxing it, being like, "Do this, please. Like, help me out." She didn't command the river to do that. That's like a book thing, which is hard to translate into a movie.
Not
like
a whole lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah,
I didn't think this
like
elf has wizard powers.
It's like, are you gonna put that in like a little text box below? Like, please do this. Like, I really need help right now. Like, it would look stupid. So like,
the scene plays out fine.
Yeah,
I believe.
That's actually, if I have to say, of all the VFX shots in the film, that's like the one I like the least.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say so too.
And I think it's cool that it's like horses, but I just think it's like not good.
It could have just been some water.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it's like there are again, like I love these movies. It's hard for me to come up with complaints for them. That's one of the shots I'm like, that's like not my favorite like shot like, ever. Like it could have just been like rushing rapids, and it would have gotten the same thing.
So after that, they get to Rivendell as the next part of the film, correct?
Yeah, and so in the book, so during that whole thing, like parallel to that story, is Gandalf going to Saruman and telling him he knows about the ring.
Yes, yeah.
In the book,
they were supposed to meet them at Bree. Yeah.
In the book, that whole part of Gandalf's story gets explained in Rivendell. It's not like paralleled.
Yeah.
But in the movie, they have them running side by side, which I think is great. Like you know, you gotta have that explanation. Like why is like one of the greatest wizards like going to turn against you? You have to show that.
Yeah.
And I think it's just so funny to see old men fly around a room like when they do magic. It's so funny. Like
Gandalf just spinning around, dude.
It's just great because like you know they do like one like 2-second take on like Ian McKellen, and then they have an extra just go fucking flying like it's great, and you know it's not him, but it's just like it's just so funny. It's just a guy with gray hair like slamming a wall. Like it's so funny. And then you know he catches the moth and
which is actually a very good scene.
And then we see like the great turn of Saruman, like you know, and it's kind of a
Sauron.
No, Saruman.
Yeah, no, you're right.
It's kind of a big point that I think Tolkien put in on purpose in the book was like he loves nature. He hates he hated being a part of World War I. Like aborted. Like I mean he despised taking life. And so, like, to have a scene where, like, you're ripping trees out of the ground out of, like, this sacred wizard temple is, like, it's, like, an amazing, like, kind of metaphor. Right? You know, it just shows, like, this is pure evil doing this. Like, this is Saruman's, like, ultimate turn to, like, being evil. Like, he's destroying nature that has been a part.
That he's, like, been protecting for so long.
He's been at the foot of Fangor, his you know, huge portion of his wizard life, and now he's destroying it. And I think it's just like a big part of I mean obviously I think Tolkien put it in absolutely on purpose. It's like this is evil people do this, like this is it disgusted him. And so like only a really bad guy would do this, and he does. He's like rip them from the roots, like he just doesn't care. And I think that's like a great scene where he's just like tear them out. Like
it's good.
And there's so much stuff in that, like all those are just like giant miniatures. Like all of Isengard. It's like a huge miniature. They just like do these huge shots. It's just amazing. It's just so well done. I just can't say enough good stuff about this movie. All right, so like next big scene, obviously the council meeting. You know, I know he reunites with like Gandalf. Like the whole fellowship's back together.
A little bit past that.
Well, we're not even like actually to the fellowship yet.
No, it has not even been made.
But we get to Elrond, and dude, he just talks about how men are weak.
Mr. Smith, yeah.
Did I send you this like picture as this tweet? And it's like from an Elrond tweet account.
Yeah.
And he's like men are weak. And then there's like High Elf Elrond apologizes for racist comment. Like, it's so good. And then he's like, it was a different age. It's so good. I just love. I send you almost exclusively Lord of the Rings memes.
As soon as I see him, dude, I'm like, oh, he's gonna love this.
It's so funny. Like that. It's just so ingrained into like my life. Like,
yeah, it is massive. These films are a big part of me. That's for sure.
And so we get the cool fellowship shot. You know, like obviously, you know, they're gonna get together.
Hey, my boy Sean Bean comes in the movie here. Boromir's probably my favorite character in this whole movie.
So there's a really cool shot when they get the whole fellowship together, and they have Gimli standing with all the hobbits, and then they're superimposed on top of like Aragorn and Legolas and Boromir because they're all obviously taller.
Yeah.
But it actually turned out like so the actor who plays Gimli is like 6 something.
Yeah, he's
like,
a big guy,
a giant.
big fella, yeah.
And it turned out like his scale was like perfect.
Yeah.
So it's just him standing with like Elijah Wood and the rest of them.
That's awesome. I did not know that.
And then they just like put them on top of like, you know, the human characters, like the taller characters.
And elf characters.
And so they don't, they didn't have to change the scale of Gimli at all because he's
humans?
so tall. No, they're oh my god, they're the same race that it starts with an M. Oh man, dude, you're calling up book stuff, dude.
I did not know this.
So like the Balrog and that's not Mjolnir, that's the hammer.
That's Thor's hammer. Yeah,
that's Thor's hammer.
Yeah.
It's like similar to that, but it's like they're these like very powerful beings, and like the Balrog is like the same.
Alright, so like their body, like their physical attributes don't really necessarily dictate.
But they're like from that same like kind of caste, I guess. And like some became like they call him the Balrog of Morgoth. So Morgoth is like the sort of like demigod that like Sauron served.
Yeah.
And then Morgoth gets like cast away, and Sauron's like, well, now I'm gonna rule Middle Earth. And so he gets Balrogs under him. I mean, like Morgoth had Balrogs, so there was a lot of Balrogs at one point.
And then
it's just the one that's left is like, so he's not like the only Balrog of Morgoth. He's just like the only Balrog of Morgoth left,
or at least in the film.
And I don't know everything about it. I'm not a book expert. I know that when they say Balrog of Morgoth was like the really really bad guy before Sauron.
All right, so we get all the boys meeting up in Rivendell here.
Dude, and I love the scene, and this is only in the extended version. They like walk out of Rivendell, and Frodo's like leading them because he's like, "I'll carry the ring, like I'm the guy."
Yeah.
And he whispers back to Gandalf. He's like, "Where do I go?"
That is awesome.
And he's like, "Turn left." Like, it's so good. And I hate that that's taken out of the theatrical cut.
That's a great.
Because it really lets you know, like, hey, like Frodo is like the guy to like resist the ring. Like he's one of few people who is like able to do this job.
Captain America movie, yeah.
But he's not a warrior. He's not a navigator.
He's just a brave dude stepping up into where he feels like he needs to step up.
Like he doesn't know Middle Earth. Like he doesn't know where to go, and he needs the Fellowship as much as the Fellowship needs him.
Yeah.
Like, and I just think it's such a good scene, and it's tragic that it's cut because he's like, "Where do I go? Like, I need you to help me," and they're like, "Well, we need you to help us," and it's such a good scene. Really, really sad that it got cut, but if you have the extended version, you never have to miss it.
Extended versions are a better version of the movies.
I exclusively watch them.
Yeah, I don't think I've watched Return of the King theatrical version since I saw it in theaters. I don't know. It is.
I don't know a different way to watch them now.
Like, you missed the mouth. But anyways,
let's talk about.
Let's not get too
it's
far.
It's a 3-part series. Yeah. We will get to the mouth of Sauron,
which is
probably
my favorite part. Probably
our single favorite character.
Yeah. He's
just amazing, and he's in the movie for 2 minutes.
I
like
we
so
could have used more of him. But so we get the boys meeting up at Rivendell. They all, here's you have my axe, you have my bow, you have all my shit, dude. And he goes, so they hand all their stuff off to Frodo, and Frodo walks out there by himself. No, I'm kidding.
They get up in the mountains. So they're in these like snowy mountains, and Sean Bean is terrified of helicopters. I don't know if everyone knows this little tidbit, but all those scenes they filmed, they like drove him as close as they could get,
and he had to hike.
And then he walked in like
Sean Bean is the freaking man. All right.
Is it Sean Bon or Sheen Bean?
Pick one, dude. You know what I mean? Like either be Sheen Bean or Sean Bon. Like you can't be both.
You can't have EA in both your names and pronounced differently.
Yeah. But he is awesome. Big Sean Bean fan.
So this dude, like, he literally hikes up the mountain with, like, a shield and sword on his back. Like, he's hiking.
Yeah.
Like, that's how he got to his scenes. Because he was like, I won't ride in a helicopter. You won't do it.
Hey, man, maybe Kobe should have had the same.
Dude.
Yeah.
Whoa.
All right. There is some, actually, there's a GoFundMe account to get LeBron James a helicopter. It's pretty bad, dude.
Dude, that's brutal, dude. That's brutal, dude. Okay. So, you know the scene where Frodo drops the ring on the mountain,
and then Sean Bean picks it up. Yeah.
So that's like it's like a 5-inch like diameter ring. It's like a huge ring they made.
Really, yeah.
Because the camera wouldn't focus on a small ring.
Yeah.
And so they made a giant version of the ring to put in. Like you wouldn't have even known the difference.
No idea.
Like,
yeah.
It's so good. Like,
it's such a good job.
And I just love that, like, there's that moment where, like, Boromir has the ring and you're like, oh my god, is he going to take it? And Aragorn is, like, all strapped up, ready to go. He's like, I'll kill this guy.
Boromir's whole concept behind taking the ring is a completely selfless act.
I think it's admirable.
Yeah, he just wants to help his people, which a lot of people, like, do not. Like, I'm a huge Boromir fan. And a lot of people are not. But I do believe that he was just trying to do what was best for his people and for everybody. He thought that he could use it to fight evil.
And like he said, he's like my people have bled to like keep your land safe. Yeah. It's like by my people's blood are your lands kept safe. Like he thinks like he's protecting Middle Earth, like because they're like Gondor is like on the doorstep of Mordor. Like they are
the front line. They're the defense.
And so like I totally get it. Like he kind of comes off as an ass at the beginning, but
he might be an ass.
But I think he's totally admirable in his like conviction, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's a good dude.
So I'm gonna like sidetrack here, getting some nerdy stuff. So you know, like those Games Workshop Lord of the Rings models I have.
Yeah.
I was like so into like I just paint them all the time when I was younger. Yeah. I want to do like a side quest storyline where you can do the storyline of the Fellowship, but like say you get to like that Battle of Lords.
We did this, right?
Yeah, we did it, but I want to do it better. But like say Boromir lives.
Yeah.
Or say you do an alternate reality where like Faramir went instead.
Yeah.
And Faramir's in the Fellowship. I'm sidetracking. I'm just saying I want to do that really bad.
We did do this.
I want to do it. I want to do it again. So then I think the next cool scene I remember is
getting the mines.
Yeah. I love that it's like a riddle to get in. Because he's like speak, friend, and enter, and
they have to fight the Kraken.
With the Watcher, the Watcher in the water.
It's a freaking Kraken.
So I think it's cool. In the book, you never see its face. It's just tentacles.
Yeah.
But they went through pretty extensive tries at how they wanted it to look, because they wanted it to be a more menacing beast.
Yeah.
Than just like tentacles coming out. And I love that like it focuses on Frodo. Like it's like kind of like all evil things know that like
the ring is there.
It's like they should go for him, you know.
Yeah.
And so like because they get Merry and Pippin and they kind of toss him away, and then they like really go after Frodo.
Yeah. That part is so hard in that game too.
I also love they send Bill the pony away just before.
Yeah.
They're like, get out of here.
Yeah, make sure
you don't need to be here. It's like, dude, there's orcs everywhere here.
Yeah,
you're gonna get killed.
In a frozen tundra.
You're gonna get eaten, dude. They just went through these crazy mountains.
Yeah.
Saruman sending like storms at them.
It's like, you're a good horse.
They're like, go on, Bill the pony.
But I did feel good about that part because I did not want to see the horse die.
Yeah. But I do love that scene, and the monster is so good, and I think they did a good job. I want to reference like Jurassic Park, where they like the first time you see the T-Rex is in like dark and rain.
Yeah.
Because that's a good way to like kind of disrupt like maybe you don't have the best visual effects yet.
Yeah.
And so
movie
like
1995.
yeah, I mean, and I think and Lord of the Rings didn't come out like too long after. And
No.
so I think like they had it like kind of it's at night, it's covered in water, so it's like if it's shiny, it doesn't look bad. Like
yeah, I mean same thing with like what they do with the Balrog and the Goblins in the scenes upcoming is it's all pretty dark.
Yeah,
that's a lot of CGI.
And I think it's
smart.
It's good. It's good.
The way that every single DC movie is filmed.
You're not wrong, dude.
Besides Man of Steel, which was awesome.
Which is the only movie ever filmed in daylight. Like, oh my god! And even still, it's like so grayscaled. Yeah. It's like it's so like every color is like muted so much. Man. Yeah, so obviously they get rid of the Watcher in the water and they get back into more. And I think it's great. It's like because they walk in first and they're like, we don't even want to do this, and they're like, because Boromir's like, we make for the Gap of Rohan, and he's like, let's get the fuck out.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, let's go. And they're like forced into this like terrible spot.
Yeah.
And they just like kind of mosey their way through, and then you get to the Tomb of Balin.
And Pippin fucks everything up again.
Which is another one of my favorite scenes. So before he even like knocks that stuff into the well,
yeah,
I just think it's so awesome. Like Pippin is such the bitch in this like fellowship. So like I said earlier, like he gets shoved down like trying to get mushrooms, and like Gandalf's like gonna go read this book, and he just like shoves his hat and staff to Pippin. Like he's like, this is your job here. Like you hold shit. That's all you're good for here. And like Pippin's just holding it, and then he manages to fuck that up.
Yeah.
Like Pippin is great. Pippin is one of my favorite characters. Like he's so good.
And then the scene comes up with a fucking cave troll, dude. And because all the orcs come in.
Do you not like the cave troll in it?
No, I'm like pumped. No,
okay.
That's one of my favorite scenes in that whole movie is when they're fighting the goblins. In the cave.
So we talked about the difference between shaky cam and handheld cam in a previous podcast. So that fight, when all the goblins go into Balin's tomb, is handheld cam. So it's not like crazy all over the place.
Yeah.
But it's like not steady. And so like it kind of makes you feel like you're in the battle, which is like I think a great filmmaking choice. So like all of the shots of like the Shire are like on a tripod, or they're like they're on a crane that's like moving in a certain way. It's very still shots, very like peaceful shots, and I think that's a great job filmmaking because it lets you know like you don't want to have the Shire be like handheld cam, like kind of moving around.
Crazy shit's happening.
But you want to have your battles like
absolutely
kind of makes you feel like you're in it, you know.
Things are hectic right now. It's not steady. It's not easy. No, that's a good point.
And that's just something like so I try to. I have a hard time rewatching these movies with like a critical eye ever because I just love them and
very good.
And nothing will stop me from loving them.
I don't think.
But I try to like.
I think they're great films.
But I was just like trying to like what can I pick out from this, and I was like, oh, okay, they're like kind of like different areas and different times in the story. They use different kind of film making techniques.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool that like like some shaky cam here because it's like not shaky cam, handheld cam, because like you're in a fight, like you're in a battle. Like, make the viewer feel like they're in it. Like a big wide shot of it wouldn't have looked as good.
No, it looks silly almost.
There's one goofy shot, and I think it's only in the extended version, where there's like a goblin that's like screaming at Aragorn, and then he just like lops its head off. Like, why were you yelling? Like, put your shield up, dude. He's just like ah! And then Aragorn just like immediately like deletes him. Like dude. It's just so funny. There's like all this like little blood spurt out from his neck. It's so good.
But this scene is really where Legolas kind of steals the show for me, and then in turn where every action scene where that dude pops in, he just kind of takes over.
It lets you know like he's not a man.
No, he is.
He's an elf.
He's the baddest motherfucker that's out there.
It's like he's an elf and he can do things that you cannot do.
Yeah, like and just like the way like when he climbs cave troll, like it kind of looks shitty, or whatever.
That's like I think a product of the time.
Yeah, you know? Which is fine. It doesn't bug me. And he just freaking drops those 2 arrows into his skull. That part is so awesome.
Yeah, I think
is so awesome.
that's the first time I think in the movie where you're like, okay, Legolas is not a guy.
He is different.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And then I think it's funny that Gimli tries to keep up with him. The rest
It's so good.
Yeah, and that's because I think Gimli notices like, okay, this motherfucker's different. Like,
I love him on Balin's tomb. He's like, let him in.
Yeah.
Let all the goblins in. He's like, there's still one dwarf in Moria that still draws
also,
breath.
by far, Orlando Bloom's best acting of his career. His Legolas.
You don't think he's good in Black Hawk Down, where he falls off a helicopter immediately?
Never seen that movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
He falls like immediately and like has to get like medevac. He's like barely in it. That was a
Whatever.
joke, but
Yeah. I mean, he's all right in Troy. But he's kind of.
you don't think he's good in Pirates of the Caribbean?
I don't think he's bad. I think Pirates of the Caribbean kind of stinks. But
I think the first one is amazing.
No, the first one is good. The rest of them suck.
But yeah, so obviously our heroes make it out of there, and then you get the really cool scene where they're
Frodo gets
running through
stabbed
the.
again, by the way.
Oh yeah, that's when you get introduced to the Mithril.
I mean, you get
chain.
introduced to it a little before, but you get to see the effects.
Yeah, because they talk about that earlier. They're like,
Because they give it to him in Riven.
but yeah. So in that fight, we know Frodo gets stabbed by the cave troll. It's when you realize he has the Mithril.
And it works.
And it's introduced earlier when Bilbo gives it to him, but then Gandalf kind of brings it up again. He's like, I never told Bilbo that like its worth was like more than the Shire. It's
Yeah.
like this amazing gift that he got from when he was with the dwarves in The Hobbit.
Yeah.
And now Frodo's got it, and so he's okay, A-okay. So they keep moving, and I think you get this just like amazing shot where they're being chased by the goblins, and the Balrog shows up. You just hear like this like whoa.
And then it's the white.
It like it doesn't even sound like a roar. It just sounds like air moving like hard.
Yes.
And it just sounds like pure heat coming after you.
And then you see the light too,
Like
which is very
the sound design for that. Yeah. And with the columns, with the light going between them,
and all
it's
the goblins
amazing.
running up the columns as
Yeah.
well. It is awesome.
The
It's very
entire design of that scene is so good, and
then you understand how massive the Mines of Moria are as well in that scene.
I think you get a little bit earlier because Gandalf like lights his staff, and he's like a little more light, we can shed, to like see it, and you see like really how big the mines are, but it's like insane. It's so cool. But like, if you really watch that scene, like Gandalf's face when he hears the Balrog, he's just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
And you look at everyone else, and they're afraid. But if you look at Legolas, he's also like, fuck.
Yeah.
Because like he's the only one like old enough to like really know what's going on besides Gandalf. And so I think it's interesting. It's like Gandalf and Legolas have like two different looks than like the rest of the Fellowship has. And it's just they're just like, oh my god, like this is so bad. And everyone else is just like,
we gotta get
what's
the fuck
going
outta
on?
here. Yeah.
But those two are like, and Ian McKellen just is like, he's so good in that scene. He's just like
He's
absolutely
good in every scene he's ever been in.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
He's just like devastated that like they have to deal with the Balrog now, and he looks so great. Like he's so good in that scene.
Yeah.
And then we get to the bridge.
I think that those scenes are awesome. When he's got like Aragorn's got like ride down the fallen stairs or whatever. It's great.
It's a good way to make like a kind of like a nonsense travel scene like exciting.
Yes.
Because like it's not fun to watch people like, oh, we have to run here.
Which is like 90%.
Unless it's Tom Cruise, I'll watch Tom Cruise
run
all
everywhere.
day. Like,
Yeah,
he can run everywhere. I'll always watch that. But like for the most part, like watching people run places is like not exciting, and so the whole like stairs toppling scene is great.
Yeah, I thought it was done pretty well. And then they get on the bridge, and
it's kind of cool. So Gandalf says like he's like, you shall not pass. It's the wrong line.
Really?
In the book, he says you must not pass.
Oh.
And that was the line he was supposed to say.
Okay, it does not sound as good as you shall not. So.
It doesn't. Which I think I totally agree with. Like, I'm glad he said it wrong.
Listen, a lot of act like you pointed out earlier, a lot of actors put it more into their character than people think.
It's either it's you must not pass. It's gotta be that, or it's you will not pass. But either way,
somewhere along the lines of it's not as good as you shall not pass.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And then I think there's a part where the bridge breaks.
Gandalf!
And Gandalf's holding on, and I think there's people who think that like he lost his grip and fell.
No, he let go.
He let go.
Yeah, he
right?
let go on purpose.
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
He was like,
"Fly, you fools!"
Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
I don't understand anyone who thinks that was an accident.
No, he went to go kill that motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he knows he need. Like, I don't think. I think he understands. Like, I don't know if this is true or not. But if he doesn't kill this thing, it's gonna be a problem in the future. Is what I believe.
Well, it's like you don't know. Like Sauron's drawing all like evil to him.
Yeah.
Like, a Balrog on his side is huge.
Yeah, that's
Speaking of Balrog, dude, you can summon one in Battle of Middle Earth, the real time strategy game.
Awesome.
And he pops out, and you just absolutely demolish
everyone.
everyone around you.
It is very.
It's
cool.
amazing.
Yeah, those games are fucking
The
awesome.
Balrog is unreal in that game. So I absolutely thought it was on purpose. And in the book, they fall into like and they show it's like a huge underground like river, underground lake they fall into.
Movie.
Oh, it is in this.
Yeah,
it is in Two Towers.
Yeah, so as far as we know, Gandalf is dead. So.
Okay, yeah, you'll have to stay tuned for our Two Towers review.
So then they move on and they get out of the mines of Moria.
And this is where the movie slows down to like a crawl for me.
Yes, for I think not a huge amount of time, but yes, it does.
I think their time in Lothlorien is like it's so slow.
Especially the scene with Boromir and Frodo, I do not like that much.
I think it's fine in the theatrical cut.
Yeah.
It's so slow in the extended version. Like I love Galadriel.
Yeah.
She's great. Like her scene where she denies the ring, I think is awesome.
This does happen before they meet up with the Uruk-hai.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just before, and it's just long.
I forget about that scene also because that whole part is very boring.
I don't want to say I tune out for it, but I'm like, okay, I've seen this. Like I'm not like really.
No, it is the first time you watch it. Obviously, pay attention. But yeah, I honestly forgot about that whole part of the movie.
So cool thing, when typically you have a lighting on a actor or whatever, you see like one light glint in their eye, like the one like little reflection from the light. For Galadriel, every scene she has, they hung Christmas lights in front of her. That way, she had a lot of like glint in her eye to make her theme like seem more ethereal and like more magical. She's the only character they did that for, and it's to make her kind of seem like more magical. I think it's a really neat little trick they did. It's just Christmas lights.
Small things like that.
Yeah.
It's where he gets Sting, or does he already have Sting? He already has Sting, right?
Here he has Sting. He got it from Bilbo
He gets
and
the white
of Elendil.
Yeah. And we get to see the sword for the first time.
The sword.
The broken one.
Oh, Shards of Narsil.
Yes.
That's in Rivendell, though. That's not in
I thought this was
Lothlorien.
the first time you saw it.
No, it's in Lothlorien, dude.
Mistaken, my fault.
Wow, dude.
Oh, that's fine. I don't care.
No, because that's where we get the... We're going to backtrack a little. That's where you get the great scene between Boromir and Aragorn.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, which is a fantastic scene.
Where, he's already said, like, Gondor has no king. Gondor needs no king. But then you get, like... Boromir has, like, such reverence for, like, the blade at first.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, nothing more than a broken blade.
Yeah.
And Aragorn, like, grabs it and, like, puts it up back nice. And
he gets jealous of Aragorn.
Yeah, no, he knows. Like, he's like, I'll never be the king. My dad's just the steward.
Yeah.
So all Boromir will ever be is, like, a steward. He'll never be the king. And
Boromir's awesome, though.
He's so great.
And then, so we move on from that. So they go...
Well, they get the fun gifts. They get the
they get the gifts.
A great scene of that. That's only in the extended cut. Is they get the llama spread from the elves.
Yeah.
And Legolas, they're like, "What's this bread?" Like Merry and Pippin. This is just more of their antics, dude. They like have some, and Legolas has like a little bit. He's like, one bite will like quench your hunger. He'll like it'll keep you like full for like a full day. And it goes to Pippin and Merry, and they're like, "How many did you have?" Pippin's like, "I've had 4." Like, he's like, "You said a bunch." Like those characters have like comic relief at like the perfect time.
Yeah.
Because it is a serious movie.
And it's not too obvious either.
Yeah. And like I feel like you get these movies like Marvel who just they've undercut every serious moment with a fucking joke, and it's awful.
They're for children. But
it's still it just is. I hate it.
It's awesome. I love it. Don't ever stop doing that.
But the comic relief in Lord of the Rings is superb.
Very subtle and very good. Yeah, they do it well for that setting of the movie.
And then they start rowing their boat. They're heading down, and they're going to meet Lurtz, Saruman's big bad Uruk-hai.
Yeah.
Which is I think is cut well because they're rowing their boats, and it kind of cuts between the Uruk-hai like running in the trees, so you kind of get the feeling like they're even with them.
Yeah.
I don't really. I mean, they're not actually even with them, but like, it makes you feel like they're close. Like this is like a serious threat.
Yeah.
I like the way it's edited together. It makes you feel like, oh, like they're in danger. Like they can't just like, they have to keep moving, you know.
Yeah.
And then then we get Frodo wandering off. Boromir tries to take the ring.
Scene sucks.
And I think it's like kind of the catalyst to him being like realizing like, hey,
I do think that the point of the scene is good. I just don't think that it's the best scene in the movie for sure.
No, I mean not.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's the best scene either.
Frodo puts on the ring to run away. He's a little bitch.
What is he gonna do? Boromir's 7 feet taller than him.
You have a sword. Stab him, dude.
Nah.
But anyways, no, I'm happy. I obviously I'm happy Frodo didn't kill Boromir.
And then you get Aragorn just like, because Aragorn kind of turns down the ring too. Like,
yeah, because
he doesn't kind of. He does. He's like straight up.
Take it, because
I love
knows
that
the temptation.
I love that there's not like a take it from me. There's no like, Frodo doesn't like offer it, like vocally, but Aragorn just kind of shoves it away. He's like, I would have followed you to the end.
Yeah, because he knows he's Balin.
Yeah, because he's like, go.
Fellowship lasts.
And I love like he pulls out Sting and it's blue and he's like, go. Like he's like Aragorn's like serious.
Yeah. And Aragorn starts just fucking wrecking orcs.
Again, that's another great part of the PS2 game.
Yeah, fantastic part of the PS2 game.
It's so good.
And then we get to see Boromir make a little bit of a redemption of himself, saving Merry and Pippin.
You get to see Sean Bean die again,
which we will see in everything that Sean Bean is in. Besides National Treasure.
He just gets arrested in that.
That movie fucking sucks.
I assume he got the death penalty just because Sean Bean has to Sean die.
Bean, yeah.
He has to die in every movie he's in.
Yeah.
But that's so good. Like him just coming up and like I gotta save these hobbits. Like,
yeah, he does the right thing because I think he's a good person. He was just fouled by the temptations of the ring, and thought that he could do right with it.
Well, I think that's kind of the point of his character is to be like, kind of everyone mostly has good intentions, but like when you have the power kind of to do so, like will you be corrupted by it? Which is the whole point of the ring. It's like it's gonna make you do the wrong thing, and like when you have all this power, like will you be true? Will you be right? And I think obviously Boromir is just like kind of an example of like maybe most people wouldn't do that. Like it's nice to think you would do the right thing with power, but like you probably won't.
Well, it's very very humanizes characters a lot.
Yeah, no, Boromir is just amazing.
And then
like
just see him just get drilled 3 arrows.
Dude, Lurtz just absolutely wrecks him.
Fucking Aragorn.
I don't even think most people know that his name is Lurtz.
No,
I don't. I think you only know it if you like read the credits. He's never like introduced as Lurtz.
No. It's like, oh, that's the.
He's like
that's the main orc. Like that's.
Yeah. He's like a gigantic.
Yeah, he's huge.
New Zealander like actor. He's played like a bunch of orcs and Uruk-hai in the movies. Like, but he's just like a absolutely massive dude. Who just.
Makeup is fantastic.
Yeah, it's just that's the thing is like I never complain about.
It's so good.
I never complain about like wow these orcs look like stupid or these Uruk-hai look dumb.
They look so good.
Everything looks great.
Yeah, I mean, Boromir just gets drilled, dude, with those 3 arrows, just nailed in his chest cavity area.
But that's when you get the great split of the Fellowship.
Yeah.
It took one movie to get them all to,
not even they were filmed formed halfway through the movie and didn't even make it to the end. So.
They didn't even. It's aptly named for like 45 minutes of the movie. Yeah. The majority of the movie is not the Fellowship of the Ring. They immediately like it takes a long time to form and then they're like immediately broken up.
Yeah, they do it in a very good way. Obviously, like Sam, dumbass, doesn't know how to swim. There's fucking 80 pounds of pot and pans on his back.
Stop, dude! Dump your pots and pans, man.
Man, he uses some weapons, dude. I mean, he messes some orcs up with those.
Yeah, no, he messes up goblins. Yeah, because he's like hitting goblins. He's like, I think I'm getting the hang of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's great.
Yeah, no. Sean Astin, fantastic job in those movies, dude.
Dude, poor guy.
Fantastic.
In Stranger Things, though.
Yeah.
I was devastated when that happened to him.
I didn't give a shit.
You didn't like Sean Astin?
It's not that I like Sean Astin and everything.
You didn't like him in...
I liked him. I just didn't. I don't have any care for any of those characters in that movie besides Steve Harrington. That's my boy,
dude. He's just adopted every kid in Hawkins.
He's the best hair I've ever seen in my life, dude. And obviously David Harbour. I just love that guy.
Dude, I'm excited to see what he is in Scarlet, or not Scarlet Witch.
Oh, he's just basically Russian Captain America.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Not Scarlet Witch. Scarlett Johansson is in the movie.
In Black Widow.
So I think we were about wrapped up with
I would say so.
Lord of the Rings.
Would
you recommend this movie?
Yeah, if you haven't fucking seen this movie, you're a stooge. Get off your ass. Go get the extended versions where you can watch them on HBO Max. $15 a month. Can't afford it.
Okay, we're not
plugging HBO Max.
Yeah,
right
no, we're not getting paid by them yet. Let's wait till we get an ad, dude.
All right, but whatever. Watch the movies. Take a while. Busy adult life might have to take 2 sittings to watch one movie, but it's well worth it.
Yeah, look at the cinematography. Just like the way it's shot differently for like different tone. That's what I realized after rewatching it again and like trying to.
What I assume is that most people who would listen to this have seen the movies.
Yeah. And
are big fans. Because I don't know that I've ever spoken to anybody who has seen these movies and do not like them.
Yeah, me either.
I mean, there's a reference in Parks and Recreation when freaking Adam Scott's like, I don't like Peter Jackson's renditions. Well, he's a fucking idiot.
Yeah, it's so a part of just. If you haven't seen this movie, I assume you haven't seen a movie in your life. So you want to let's just like wrap this up. And do you want to recommend? What are we watching lately?
So I've been on a huge Invincible kick, which is an Amazon animated show. If you're a fan of The Boys, which is also an Amazon show, you'll like it. Even if you're not, I mean, it's a great show. Superhero fan or not, the story's amazing. J.K. Simmons is maybe the best voice actor of all time, next to Mark Hamill. It's very,
just to let everyone know, it's very violent.
Oh, super violent. Yeah. Most things I like are, so just understand that. But yeah, it's a great show. I'm a huge fan. I've been getting a little bit into Community on Netflix. It's a good show, but I mean, if you're gonna check out some new
Community
content,
is a college. It's set in Denver.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I had no idea.
It's Fort Collins campus.
Is it really?
It's around school.
No way.
Yeah,
that's what it's based on.
Yeah,
I had no idea. But I just knew it was like something in Colorado. I thought it was Denver, but no, it was not.
I'm not sure if it is based in Denver or not, but it looks exactly like the campus.
I had no idea.
But yeah, if you haven't seen Invincible and you're a fan of superhero shit or just really cool shows that have a lot of violence and really good story, honestly.
Yeah, the characters are great.
The characters are great. Yeah.
I love
Stephen Ewan.
There's a good like father-son dynamic in it. It's
Stephen Ewan, J.K. Simmons, Sandra Oh, the girl who plays Maggie on the.
Oh my God, who's the dude who plays Spock? The guy who plays Spock in all the new movies.
I don't know. He's in Heroes too. I can never remember his name.
He's in it. He plays the robot.
Yeah. Who's
Wow, we need to do our research better.
Rafi from The League. I'm not sure if you've seen that show. Rafi is in it.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
And he is one of my favorite actors. That guy's awesome. Pocket Dogs.
So. Yeah, it's like a really star-studded cast.
Yeah, no, Seth Rogen produces and directs it.
Yeah.
It's great. If you guys get a chance, definitely check that out.
I have also watched Invincible. It's awesome. Yeah. I highly recommend it. It's really good. Maybe a little too much kind of like teen drama sometimes.
Sometimes,
if you're not a big fan of that, I wouldn't say don't watch it, but like
I'd say check it out, dude.
It's still really
first
good.
episode kind of moves a little bit slow, and then there's a mid-credit scene in the last episode that really got me hooked. And I mean, it's violence. That's what got me hooked. So if you're a big fan of that, just check it out. You know?
Yeah, it's kind of like turning the whole hero thing on its head. Like they're not always so great. Like it's kind of like they're garbage sometimes. So. But then there's still some guys trying to do good, so I recommend it too.
Huge recommend. J.K. Simmons, awesome dude. Anything he's in, I'll recommend and or watch. I mean, it's awesome.
I've been watching Silicon Valley lately.
Yeah,
again another. We're plugging HBO hard, I guess.
T.J. Miller, Colorado boy.
Who gets like canceled like in the 3rd season? He like is just out of it, but that show's great. It's created by Mike Judge, who did King of the Hill
and The Office.
Yeah, which
wait, no, that's Greg Daniels. Greg Daniels did King of the Hill and The Office.
But Mike Judge does it, which is crazy to me because he went from like redneck, kind of like
Mike Judge's done a lot of stuff.
Yeah, no, I know,
Yeah,
but it's
like
Butthead
too.
The two things he's most known for, I think, is the thing he's most known for is probably King of the Hill and
Beavis Butthead.
Silicon Valley is completely different.
Completely different, yeah.
And apparently he was just like, I'm just fascinated by Silicon Valley. He was just like, the tech and the way everything moves and how quick it is. And
the main character is the dude from the Verizon commercials.
yeah.
I fucking do not like him. Other than that, the show's awesome. It's got the guy from the Big Stick in it.
Kamal, something Kamal.
Yeah, he's gonna be in the Eternals too. I'm a big fan of him.
Yeah, he's coming up in a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
He got absolutely
freaking yoked,
yeah,
dude. He got
completely
so
jacked
yoked.
for it.
Yeah. But yeah. I mean, yeah. Check out Invincible if you haven't seen Silicon Valley. That's a good watch.
Yeah, there's like 5 seasons.
I think I've only seen the first 2.
Yeah, if you have HBO or you can get it on Amazon, whatever. But if you can watch it, it's excellent.
Yeah.
It's really good, and it's just these people who are just trying so hard to be successful, and they just run into roadblocks all the time. Every episode, and they're only like 25-minute episodes.
They're short and sweet. They're good.
Yeah, every episode you're just like, oh my god, like you're just root for these guys so much. It's a great show.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of T.J. Miller and Deadpool, you'll like the show for sure. I just think
T.J. Miller's like my least favorite part of the show.
It's the only part I like, I think, and the Big Stick guy.
But yeah, all right. Well, I think we're good.
So call it a wrap. Yeah, for sure.
Thanks for listening to Now This Is Podcasting with Connor and Jaden.
Yeah.